Once upon a time in the early 23rd century, a significant portion of the Earth's population lived below the poverty line. Due to these conditions, many people took up dangerous jobs like off-planet mining or space exploration. In the future, space travel was facilitated by slipstreaming, a technology capable of transforming both organic and non-organic matter into data signals, which were then sent to specific coordinates in the universe. Scientists developed a device called Apex, a small tool implanted and connected to the human nervous system, enabling instant transportation from one place to another. Apart from its teleportation function, the device also served as a receiver for recalling someone from a distant location. However, the technology was not without risks, as potential data signal disruptions could occur. In a special room, several soldiers were subjected to basic questions by a scientist to determine if they remained the same individuals after using Apex. The scene then transitions to a man named Whit, a defense technology expert who recently joined the military's Unit 84. On his first day, Whit received a mission to go to a distant location on a planet, marking his first slipstreaming experience. Despite extensive training, Whit was worried about potential malfunctions of the machine that might not return his body intact. His wife Lisa advised him to reconsider, especially since she was pregnant with their first child. However, duty called, and Whit promised to be back for dinner. Lisa, reluctant to be left behind, shed tears and handed Whit a photo from their dating days, which he would carry as a token of luck. Arriving at the Slipstream Division's West Coast headquarters, Whit was welcomed by Captain Sefton, the leader of Unit 84, and his old friend. Alongside him were 4 other senior members. Sefton then asked 3 of his subordinates to leave the room, leaving only Dave and Whit. Sefton learned that Dave had conducted an unauthorized slipstream jump without his knowledge. Despite being a breach of trust, Sefton asked for an explanation, not just as a superior but as an old friend. Dave, however, couldn't reveal the details at that moment. Sefton didn't press further and requested Dave and Whit to meet him at a cafe after the mission. However, Whit declined, citing his promise to Lisa to return for dinner. Shortly after, a notification alarm sounded. Members of Unit 14 to 28 were preparing for a jump in the adjacent room, armed and ready. They received an emergency status message about their destination. However, within minutes, some of them returned injured, inexplicably shooting at each other. The security system initiated a Delta quarantine, sealing off all rooms in the headquarters and releasing toxic gas to incapacitate everyone inside. The situation escalated, leading Sefton to ask Dave to hack the Apex system so that the 3 of them could perform an illegal jump to save themselves. Unfortunately, Sefton's device was locked. Whit and Dave successfully jumped, while Sefton succumbed to the poisonous gas. The scene then shifted to the East Coast Division headquarters, where military members were preparing for a jump. The team included Captain Johansson, Menzies, Jack Lahr, Chester, Claire, Charlie, Rex, and their lieutenant, named Philippa Boxon. They were briefed on their mission, investigating a mining location on the distant planet Infini, where 1,600 workers had mysteriously died while extracting unique minerals. This incident was considered the biggest space disaster, and their goal was to assess the situation and the feasibility of mining these potentially revolutionary energy sources. Before the actual mining, safety and viability surveys had been conducted. The unique minerals were a potential new energy source that could alleviate Earth's energy crisis. However, the substance easily evaporated under normal operational conditions, posing an unforeseen danger. The magnitude of the casualties hinted at a potential disaster for Earth. Just 12 minutes ago, the West Coast Division tried to extract someone named Montoli from Infini. However, Montoli refused and damaged his implanted Apex, severing networks and remote connections. Montoli was reported preparing to ship cargo containing the dangerous mineral to Earth, endangering humanity. Unfortunately, they received news that the West Coast Division's headquarters was destroyed, with no survivors. As we know, when the headquarters enforced quarantine, Whit and Dave performed an illegal jump, and their destination was the planet Infini. So far, Only Whit has been detected alive through the Apex device implanted in his body. In addition to the investigation, the next mission is to prevent the cargo shipment to Earth and rescue Whit. They've learned that Whit has been on Infini for about a week, even though he left just a few minutes ago. Due to the instantaneous relocation, every 14 seconds in normal time equates to a 24-hour time difference on Infini. After each jump, they return to the same place within a few seconds, as happened with Team 28 at the West Coast Division headquarters. Upon arrival, the captain divided them into 3 teams, one to locate Whit, another to restore the power reserve, and the third to find the cargo of mineral. In almost every room, they encountered frozen bodies of workers due to the room temperature dropping to -70 degrees Celsius. The place was truly horrifying, but what they discovered in the central hall was beyond expectation. There were hanging strips of skin and human organs lying on the table. Meanwhile, Claire found a closed door isolated from the rest of the rooms. After successfully activating the generator, the room temperature began to rise, melting everything that had been frozen. Subsequently, someone wrote a message on the monitor screen, inquiring about their identity and purpose for coming to this place. The captain responded that they were a rescue team, and shortly after, the closed door opened, revealing the figure of a man, none other than Whit. Whit narrated that upon arriving here, the place resembled a slaughterhouse. All workers were infected by a mysterious, skin-transmitted virus. They went mad, losing consciousness before eventually attacking and killing each other. When the chaos ensued, Whit hid in the ventilation ducts, leading him to this room where he killed all the infected individuals. He had to do it for survival. The captain understood Whit's actions and was informed that their headquarters was under total quarantine, making it impossible for anyone to call him back. Rex then inquired if there were still others inside the station. Upon finding human organ parts in the central hall, he wanted to confirm whether it was Whit's doing or someone else's. Whit replied that he didn't know, but almost the entire station had frozen except for his room, so there should be no survivors. Luckily, being a computer programming expert, he could manipulate and control life support functions in this room. If that were the case, Whit could take over or operate the station, allowing him to track where the cargo was being sent and cancel its orders. They promised to take him back to Earth if Whit was willing to help. Without much delay, Whit successfully hacked into the station's computer and determined the destination of the cargo. However, manual action was required to cancel the shipment. Someone had to go to the cargo room to press the cancellation button. The captain then assigned Claire, Jackler, and Menzies to go to the cargo room, while Whit and Chester would guide them from the control room. Suspecting from the beginning why only Whit survived, Chester asked if he was infected. Whit responded that if he were infected, he would have killed them all, and he requested Chester to stay quiet and let him finish his job. Shortly after, a warning sign appeared. Whit said the alarm was not an issue, as he was attempting to manually take over the control system, but the temperature in the cargo room increased. Whit asked Menzies and the others to return to the control room immediately, but fortunately, Menzies managed to handle the situation. However, something unexpected occurred. Montoli suddenly arrived and attacked the captain. Rex immediately shot him in the heart with a heavy weapon. Claire and Jackler heard the commotion and hurriedly returned to the control room, leaving Menzies alone in the cargo room. While they were providing medical care to the captain, Montoli suddenly rose and attacked them again. Rex shot him right in the head, causing Montoli's blood to splatter on everyone. Unintentionally, the contagion that infected Montoli now spread to the rescue crew. Moments later, their bodies began to react. They screamed in pain before ultimately losing control of themselves. Unlike Whit, although his body was splattered with blood, Whit had not lost consciousness. He then contacted Menzies, who was still in the cargo room, asking him to hide because everyone had been infected. After that, Whit fled, but unfortunately he fell down when attempting to jump across the gap between 2 corridors. Despite the fall from a height, Whit surprisingly survived. Faintly hearing Charlie calling him, even though in pain, Charlie tried to control his consciousness. While continuously hunting Whit, whom he believed intentionally harmed the rescue crew, Charlie was luckily interrupted by Jackler, who suddenly arrived and attacked Charlie, leaving him lifeless. It seemed that some of the crew members were beginning to lose consciousness, making them unable to recognize their own friends. After Jacklar left, Whit searched for a place to hide, but accidentally stumbled upon the station's lab and research files. The research indicated that the mined mineral was classified as a frozen organic substance called primordial fluid. The mineral could melt at -10 degrees Celsius. Anyone touched by the fluid would experience intense pain in less than 3 minutes before losing consciousness. However, in certain cases, a person could endure for up to 2 hours since the initial infection. This was happening to Whit, who could still hold on, but sooner or later he would share the same fate as the others. After infecting the foreign organism, it becomes a parasite on the host's body, attacking tissue cells, mimicking them before eventually taking full control of the host. In other words, when someone is infected, it can be confirmed that the person is a replica of the perfect form of the foreign organism. The research file was actually written by Montoli, a science officer at Infini station. This means that the infection case had occurred long before the mass massacre incident at this station. Shortly after, Menzies entered, asking for an explanation of what happened to the rescue crew. Whit claimed that all the crew had been infected except him. Whit intentionally lied so that Menzies wouldn't kill him. To convince him, Whit remembered all their previous conversations, even asking Menzies to find a hiding place when the crew was infected. All this chaos was caused by the mineral they mined. The mineral is a flammable substance intended as an alternative energy source on Earth. Initially, all mining activities went smoothly until the mineral melted and infected anyone who touched it. The fact is that the mineral is a form of frozen organism. The cold temperature of this planet keeps the foreign organism awake from its slumber. Before humans were discovered, they melted and evolved. The reason those infected act aggressively is that the basic instinct of life is to survive. Perhaps the foreign organism is just trying to maintain its existence. It is not impossible that the entire planet is the mineral or the foreign organism itself, and there is no way to stop it except by closing this station and returning to Earth. However, only Captain and Chester can activate Apex. Whether they like it or not, they have to find them to be able to return to Earth. Unexpectedly, Rex broke in and attacked Menzies. But when Rex saw Menzies and Whit, he remembered that they were friends and regained consciousness. However, no matter how hard Rex tried, the parasite inside his body tried to take over. Eventually, Rex shot himself so that his body would not harm Whit or Menzies. Unfortunately, due to the attack, Menzies became infected, leaving Whit with no choice but to kill him. When Whit was about to return to the control room, he began to hallucinate. He saw his own shadow turning into a psychopath and remembered his promise to Lisa, which he might never fulfill. After regaining consciousness, Whit found Chester sending a radio message to Earth. Like what happened to him, Chester seemed to be able to endure longer after being infected. Whit said the radio message would not reach Earth for 100 years. The only way is to use Apex to return to Earth. However, Apex can only be used within the next 8 hours. Whit realized they didn't have that much time and had to find a way to survive before the parasite took over their bodies. Then Whit went to the treatment room to find Claire, because she was the only medical officer he hoped could stop the infection. Claire was seen performing a blood transfusion to treat her changing body. Jackler was also in the room. They were actually a couple. Jackler promised to take Claire back to Earth, but their awareness began to fade before eventually attacking each other. Unexpectedly, Chester quietly aimed his weapon at Whit. Feeling threatened, they engaged in a fight that ended with Chester's death. Afterward, Whit returned to the laboratory, feeling confident that the foreign organism controlling his body or the still-form mineral could see or hear his words. Whit referred to the foreign organism as an extraordinary but imperfect form of life. Although they could mimic or replicate the form of the organisms they inhabited, they didn't understand humans. They only chose the worst aspects of human behavior, such as violence, conflict, or hatred. Yet, they could still evolve into much better beings. If they imitated the good things about humans, the situation might be different. All Whit wanted was to fulfill his promise to Lisa and return to Earth before dinner. Instead, they took it away, even robbing the happiness of everyone on the station. What they gained after imitating human forms when everyone on the station died was nothing. They would be nothing but frozen again, as before. Feeling hopeless and not wanting the foreign organism to live inside him, Whit decided to end his life, holding a photo of him and Lisa. Shortly after, the primordial fluid approached the bodies and covered the rescue crew. Miraculously, Whit, who had committed suicide, suddenly woke up after hearing Claire calling his name. Not only Claire, but all the members also came back to life. Then they gathered in the control room, looking at each other as if surprised by what had actually happened to them. The captain hoped he could explain everything, but this was a miracle beyond human knowledge. However, they were all in good condition, and the payload delivery to Earth had been successfully terminated. The station was safe, and Whit was with them. The mission was declared successful, and soon they could return to Earth. The captain reminded them that when they arrived on Earth, they had to ensure that no one could visit this place forever. In the countdown moments, the alien entity imitated human forms, but in liquid form. One of them held a photo of Whit and Lisa, as if wanting to study humans. Upon returning to the base, doctors and scientists asked basic questions, then moved the bodies of the crew to ensure that they were the same people who returned. After confirming that they were free from contamination, they were allowed to go home. The total duration of their journey to Infini was only 52 seconds of Earth time. This means they were gone for just a moment, then returned shortly after, and finally Whit could fulfill his promise to Lisa to come back to her. What happens in this film, especially behind the rescue crew's revival, is revealed through the research on the mineral. The mineral turns out to be an alien organism capable of mimicking human cell tissues perfectly. This implies that if the organism can mimic them, it can also heal damaged human cells as before. As they listen to Whit's heartfelt confession, the alien entities learn to understand humans. Eventually, they decide to heal and revive the crew. The crew themselves are aware that they have been infected and were killing each other. The reason they don't explain this at the end of the film might be to leave the ending open, allowing the audience to speculate on their own. However, what if those who came back to life are actually replicas created by the alien organism, perfectly resembling them? This poses a serious threat to humanity on Earth. Yet, observing the moments of the rescue crew's return to Earth, we see the alien entities gathering, seemingly bidding farewell to the crew. One of them holds a photo of Whit and Lisa, as if trying to understand humans. Therefore, it can be concluded that they didn't take control of the crew's bodies, but only healed them to enable their return to Earth, regardless of whether it's true or not. And that's it for the story series of this film. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to support this channel by subscribe, like and share. See you in the next video. Goodbye.